Konnichiwa from Osaka, Japan. It's been a great privilege for Linda and I to be here for the last 3 days, traveling with and reviewing the ministry of George and Ellen King and their daughter Ruth. It's been a great blessing to meet many of the Japanese Christians. Less than 1% of the Japanese people claim to be Christians of really any sort. The primary religion is Shintoism, with a lot of Buddhism overlap. And the Shinto religion is the emperor religion. In fact, they date their calendars from the year the most recent emperor became the emperor. And they're about to go through that transition again with the crown prince. They believe in reincarnation, and therefore they're very honorable and very polite, and particularly to the older people. Nobody in Japan is allowed to be buried because it's just so crowded and there is no room in the ground. So they cremate everybody. And when somebody dies, the family and friends gather around the crematorium. And after the body is cremated, they go in with chopsticks and pick portions of the bones, which then they take home and put in their Shinto shrines or on their particular ancestor shelf. And they worship their ancestors periodically. And it's kind of understood that at least on New Year's Day, everybody will worship their ancestors. Of course, this makes it difficult for the believers because if they refused to worship the emperor and pay homage to him and worship their ancestors, they're rejected by their family, sometimes pretty powerfully and violently. Even at work, if it's discovered that they don't participate in the festivals and the emperor worship and the ancestor worship, at the very least, they're looked down upon, and at the very most, they won't get the job or they won't get promoted in the job. So it's very much like the early Christians, who the Roman Empire wasn't necessarily didn't care if they became a Christian, as long as they continued to worship the emperor and pay the homage to the emperor. And of course, the Japanese, like the early Christians that compromised, they kind of didn't get a lot of persecution, but those who stood firm, then they were terribly persecuted. Brother King, we've traveled around to, I believe, 5 of the churches. Brother King's philosophy is very much like the Apostle Paul's in Thessalonica, where he would travel in his missionary journeys, win people to Christ, disciple them, and then appoint them to start churches. And Brother King helps them, trains them, disciples them, and once they believe that they're called to preach, and he believes they're qualified, he puts them through the 4-year Bible college that he started, and then he hires them to work alongside of him or another one of those he's trained as an associate, and that for a couple of years, and then they look for different places to plant churches, which often are in homes that they purchase. There's very little land here, so the homes are built up, at least 2, sometimes 3 stories, and they purchase a large home. And then they remodel it so use it for a church. The people here are very clean. Every home we've been in, you have to take your shoes off at the door, and then there's usually slippers provided so that the slippers never go outside. And even in the homes and the churches, by the way, there's a separate set of slippers in the bathroom. So you take your house slippers off and slip on your bathroom slippers, and they're very, very clean oriented, very courteous also, and we've just been privileged to represent our church, and I'll be sharing some more of the many things I'm learning about the Japanese culture and the King's ministry a little bit later, but I wanted to get this to you so I can update you possibly for Sunday service. Thank you again, and God bless you.